In this video, I'm going to create a new project within an existing project for the DFWBIUG C3D data shortcuts project or solution within Visual Studio to create a project that'll let the user select a polyline and then change what layer the objects are within it. So this might be like multiple videos. It's probably something that should be in the core project, because if we're doing BIM, which is whatever you want it to be, but it should at least be able to selected objects and then have it be like part of your project, the existing, or it's going to be removed in the future. So I'm going to do this for Civil 3D or AutoCAD 2025. And so I'm going to right click on the solution, and I'm going to go ahead and add in a new project. And the language I want to use is C#, and it's going to be all of them. And I want to do a class library for .NET Core. And so it's going to be this one, class library, targets .NET or .NET standard. And I'll go ahead and click next. And then I can give my project a name. And I'm going to call it BIM demo, because you need to have those meaningless marketing words in there. So I got that. And demo, because it's going to be related to demolition. And I'm going to add it to the C3D reminders project and hit next. It's going to be .NET 8. And then I'm going to hit create. And Visual Studio will go ahead and create a BIM demo project. I don't want to use class 1, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to go ahead and create and add a new folder. And I'm just going to call it demo layers. In case I need to add other stuff within this, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then I want to make sure that stuff is available when I need it. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on the project to open up the BIM demo. And I want to be able to use WPF. So if you add this line to the property group, it's going to go ahead and allow you to use WPF. And it'll automatically add the references that you need to do that. And then I want to give it a base output path. Since I might have multiple projects located in this folder, I'm going to go ahead and add in a folder. So it's going to go into the bin folder for 2025. And this is going to be for Windows. So I want to append the target framework to output path as false. So I won't add the whatever project that you're doing to frame it to it. And for my target framework, it's going to be -Windows 8.0 instead of just .NET 8. And then I can go ahead and add in my references. And I'm going to go ahead and browse to my projects. And I've downloaded the API or the Object ARX information. You can get that from the Autodesk website. And within there, you can download each year. And since I'm doing 2025, I'm going to go ahead and select this. And then you can select ACore Manage, ACDB Manage Brep, AC Managed, ACDB Managed, and then I can hit Add. And so these are going to allow me to interact with the Autodesk API. And then I can hit OK. 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 And so now it's going to be included within my project. And here are the files that I just added. If I open up the properties, I don't want these to be copied local because they're going to be included within the program, Civil 3D or AutoCAD or ACA. And so then I want to add in additional references. And this is going to be to the C drive, program files, Autodesk 2025. And in the Autodesk architecture folder, I want to bring in the AEC base managed file because Civil 3D is built on architectural desktop. And then I also want to bring in the Civil 3D, although this would be optional, but later on I may add some additional information. And so I want the AEC DB managed DLL. And for these two, I want to copy local set to no. So then I want to be able to debug this. And so if I go to the debug properties, which I want to do for this project, not the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and unload this project because I really don't need it for this. And then I'm going to go to debug and go to the debug properties. And for the command line arguments, you can like put a file to open or other things like a profile. It's the same settings that you would find in the link to start Civil 3D or AutoCAD. You can also add those to it. In this case, I don't have anything to open yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave that. But in the BIM demo, I can add a default project to open. And in the configuration manager, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one for x64. And then hit OK. And then I could add in a property group. And I'm going to have some constants for like 2025 if I need to add anything to it. And then my start program when I debug for x64 is going to be the acad.exe program. And then I can go ahead and save. And so if I hit play, it should open up Civil 3D 2025. And so Civil 3D opened, and then I can create a brand new drawing. And so now I need to create a command. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add in a class. And I'm just going to call it demolition. And here's a namespace. So that's just how the programming works. And it's kind of like a roadmap and gives a unique name, or hopefully a unique name to different portions of the programming. So system would be my namespace that Microsoft has, and then collections and generic. And typically it follows the folder structure. So I have project BIM demo, and then the folder is demo layers, and here's my class of demolition. And so I want to go ahead and make this public so AutoCAD can see it. And I'm going to call it static just so I can have it not be an initiated class. It's just going to call this class and not be have any issues. So I'm going to have a command method and then a method. And then I'm going to have my value here. If you get a little squiggly line under some text, you can usually go to the light bulb and they do like using AutoCAD. And I'm just going to call this demo layers. And then you can add your code here. So the first thing I want to do is get the document, and the document's the current drawing. The application is Civil 3D. The document manager is all of the documents within a drawing. And then the MDI is the active document. And then I want to get the editor, so that'll interact with the drawing. So I can write stuff to the command line and get interactions with the user. If I use a try catch, that'll add some exceptions handling for my command. And so if there's an error message, I can then write it to the command line. The \n provides a new line, and so it'll add a new line to the command line, write error, and then you'll be able to see the error message. And so that's just for like debugging purposes, so people can see what the error message is. So the Civil 3D drawing is a database. And so I want to create a transaction where I can store all of my changes. And that's going to be done through the transaction manager, and you can start a transaction. And then at the very end, you want to go ahead and commit those changes of what you're going to have. And then I want to go ahead and select a polyline. And when I do that, I want to have some options that I might want to reuse. So I'm going to use what are called extensions and provide a way where I can select objects over and over again using the same type of pattern rather than copying my code over and over again. So typically I create an extensions folder, and then I'll add classes for all of my extensions. So in this case, I have editor extensions, and extensions need to be used within a static class. And since I'm only going to have one type of polyline selected at a time, I'm just going to go ahead and do object ID. And I'm going to call this get entity by type. And so I'm going to have this editor. Whoops. And then you can select, if you know it, you can select it from the list. And then it's going to automatically add the usings up here. And then I can call it ed. And then I can have and the type values are things that allow you to type based on a class. And so it's going to return an object ID. And the object ID is a unique identifier for the value. So I might have some UI in here. So I'm going to go ahead and set focus to drawing view in case I'm outside of my dialog box. And then I can add in some options for my prompting. And so that'd be the new prompt selections. And so I can add an add prompt, a remove prompt, and then I can select everything in aperture. And then I just want single only equal to true. So I probably want to tell the user what to select. So I'll have an add prompt and remove prompt. And then you need a selection filter. And then I'm going to pass those typed values to it. And then I can get my prompt result by getting the selection, by passing the options, and then using the selection filter. And that'll filter out just the polylines that I want to receive or get from the user. And then if the user doesn't pick something, I can pass back just an empty one, and then I can check it. And then I can check if it's okay. And really, I'm just going to check to see if it's okay. And if not, I'll return object ID is null. And so I'll get the object IDs that the user selected. And since I'm only looking for the first one, I'll just go ahead and do first. And here I've told AutoCAD to only accept one. So I'll go back to my command. And then I can do ed get entity by type. And I'll create the type values in the moment. And I'll go ahead and select polyline. And then I'll do not a valid polyline, try again. And for the type values, I can use this. I usually like to get the class. Just so I don't have to remember the name. And so that's going to be the polyline. And then I typically like to put it in a query format in case I need to add another one. So I might say, hey, I need to support 2D polylines. Or maybe I want to support 3D polylines. And then it'll allow me to, or it'll allow the user to select a polyline 2D or a polyline 3D, and then it'll select it. And then for testing, and you can also do is null. And then return it. And then if it's valid, then I can turn it into a polyline. And then it's going to go and do that. In this case, I need to check to get this squiggly line to go away, to check if it's none, and then I can return it. And the reason why it would be null is because I'm allowing the user to get polyline 2D and 3D. And then if I want to test my command, I can hit the little play button. And so I can go ahead and open up a drawing. In this case, I'm going to open up test drawing. And then in order to load it, the DLL, you can type netload. Navigate to where the DLL is built. In this case, BIM demo, hit open. It'll ask you if you want to load it. I'm going to say always load. And then I can try running the command. Demo layers, I can select the polyline. And then at the command line, it's going to show me the length of the polyline. And now I have a command built. I'm going to go ahead and copy the path because I want it to automatically open up the drawing next time. And so in Solution Explorer, I can then come back up here to debug, go to debug properties. And for the command line options, I can put in the drawing location in quotes. And so the next time I run BIM demo, it's going to open up Civil 3D and then open up that drawing. And here's Civil 3D opened. And then now I have the drawing open. And so this is the first video in a series of videos on how to write a command to then bring out or select the polyline and then change the layers of the objects within the polyline.